We will now move on to our next panel discussion, focusing on the do's and don'ts of Web 3.0 investment. As part of the Cyberport Investor Network, members of the Web 3.0 Investor Circle, we share how venture investors are positioning themselves in the Web3 revolution. So this panel discussion, our speakers will discuss capitalizing on its potential while supporting promising technopreneurs in this new digital frontier. So we are honored to have invited the following speakers to the stage. First of all, let's welcome the moderator for this session, Dr. Albert Yip, the Honorable DBA, FCPA, MSc Chairman, Syndicate Capital Group. Welcome, Dr. Yip. And joining Albert on stage, we have our speakers. They are Mr. Richard Wang, Managing Partner of Draper Dragon. Welcome, our speakers. And let's welcome Mr. Kang Shen, founder, Hash Global Advisory Company Limited. And I would like to invite Mr. Jupiter Zheng, partner, HashKey Capital. Last but not the least, let's give a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Max Rebol, Managing Partner, Harbour Industrial Capital, Director of PolkaPort East. Welcome, gentlemen, on stage. All the speakers, please be seated. Please be seated. Thank you. And now, Dr. Yip, I'll pass the time to you. The stage is yours, please.
Thank you, MC, for the introductions. Because we only have like half an hour, I try to save the time on introducing each of you because I think all you gentlemen are quite well known in the market. Why not I go straight to the first questions? Now today, I'm Albert Yip, the chairman of Syndicate Capital, also, the global ambassador of Cyberport of Middle East. Now today, I have a very strong panel over here. I think they are quite well known in the market, so you gentlemen, you want to introduce yourself? Okay, why not we start with Max first?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Max Rebol. I am wearing two hats here. I'm managing partner of Harbour Industrial Capital, which is a crypto VC fund with a very heavy focus on the Polkadot ecosystem. And the other hat I'm wearing is PolkaPort East. That's also who I'm representing here today, which is essentially a growth and IR initiative for Polkadot supported by the Decentralized Futures Program of the Web3 Foundation. What we're essentially doing is bringing Polkadot-based companies together with investors here in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Max. Jupiter?
This is Jupiter from HashKey Capital. I'm in charge of liquid fund investment, also ETF in Hong Kong market. So HashKey Capital is a venture and asset management arm of HashKey Group. So we're running licensed exchanges, licensed investment, also staking tokenization business in Hong Kong and Singapore and also globally. Thank you.
HashKey is well known to everyone. Jupiter. Okay. Yes? Shen? Okay.
Hello, my name is Kang Shen. We are a VC, Web3 VC, and we focus on Chinese founders team. We have invested in about 60 startups. Most of them are, I would say 90% of them are Chinese founders globally. Yes.
Very impressive.
Yep. Good afternoon. My name is Richard, come from the Draper Dragon. We are a very typical venture capital based in Silicon Valley since 2006. And we invest quite a lot of different sectors. Of course, the Web3 today, right? And in Web3, we start to invest since 2014. The first deal should be Coinbase, if I'm not wrong. So again, we have a lot of engagement with Hong Kong, Cyberport, and we continue to devote on this area.
Yeah, thank you for supporting Cyberport. Now, gentlemen, why not I can start with the questions? I think the first questions, Sam, perhaps you may help us to address some of the questions we want to ask. Now, what key factors do you consider when we doing the valuation of Web3? You know, in the markets, Web3, companies, it's quite hard to do the valuation because of different factors. Want to share some of your views, share some of your, comments to the audience on the floor?
I would just mention one point is we look at the teams, we look at the people. Web3 is a very challenging area, especially in the last 2 years. And I think 3-4 years back, we were at a very good time. So everybody is happy, teams are happy, and we are happy. But in the past 2 years, we start to face very challenging problems because the teams are facing difficulties, and how they behave. Are they able to manage the problems they are facing? Are they able to pivot to our more promising direction? Are they still determined to do what they want to do in the beginning? Do they even have moral problem? So we really look at the people, put the people's quality as our first priority now. Do they have enough experience? How they behave in difficult times? Sometimes it's very hard to connect enough data points to evaluate the teams. We try to do as much as we could. We try to talk to their friends, their previous colleagues, try to connect data. But I would say most of the time we don't have enough. So we try to mitigate the risk by putting up a solid legal contract. We start to connect financial data as a necessity, as a team requirement. That's one point I would like to share. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I share the same views too, because at the time and during the tough, market environment, sometimes governance was always the issues. And some of the founders are very young, even though they were talented. Well, sometimes I find that for the VC, we have to jump in to provide our viewpoints to share experience with them. Right? Max, you are a very young gentleman on venture capitals as well as on investors. All right, I think you're quite close to some of the founders too. So tell us something. So, what are some of the most significant trends currently shaping the Web3?
Yeah, I mean, there are many different ways that you could tackle this question. I mean, you can talk about trends from the application layer, or you can talk about it more from the sort of base layer infrastructure that we're seeing. I think one big trend at the moment is that everything is moving to L2 on Ethereum. This is, by the way, something that Polkadot already did a long time ago. Polkadot, which as many of you know, was founded by Gavin Wood, the co-founder of Ethereum, or the former CTO of Ethereum. They kind of realized this vision of roll-ups like much earlier. Nowadays, like everything is, sort of like everyone is trying to do their own L2 on Ethereum. Announcement came out, Uniswap is doing an L2 on Ethereum, which is kind of pretty interesting because it obviously takes the biggest fee-paying customer away from Ethereum, and it may very well cannibalize like the main chain. Like that's kind of one trend that I'm seeing, which could become very critical for Ethereum, in my opinion. Polkadot, on the other hand, like realized this trend already like much earlier on, and said that there's kind of no point to have heavy computation on the main chain, but have the relay chain, like as the layer 0, as we like to call it, as lightweight as possible, and offload all the heavy computation to other chains, which in our lingo is called parachains, but in the Ethereum world it's called L2s or rollups. And so now this is kind of like Ethereum and some other L1s are kind of transitioning in this direction, in this more like roll-up centric view. Polkadot did this from the beginning and is like very much like positioned for that. That's one of the reasons why we like it very much. And I also think if you really want to get to a level of mass adoption, right, where I guess we all want to see the space evolving to, you also have to do horizontal scaling, right? Solana, for example, is only doing vertical scaling. They're trying to put everything onto the main chain. Faster transactions, faster throughput, but that also means like, computer centers acting as nodes that are, that cannot be run by any home computer. You need you're running into like resource constraints, very resource intensive computation. That obviously has the big disadvantage of leading to centralization rather than decentralization, which is not really what we're trying to achieve here. Because ultimately, I mean, what is Web3 all about, right? It's very much about resilience, right? That's kind of a word that I'm missing a little bit in this conversation, right? People are talking about making things faster and like, you know, liquidity and yes, these are important things, but like the reason why we're building Web3, in my opinion, is because of resilience, right? Resilience against censorship, resilience against single point of failure, resilience of over-regulation, government overreach, resilience against collusion, monopolization, right? And decentralization is one way of achieving this resilience, and therefore you have to find a way, in my opinion, of scaling an ecosystem without leading to centralization and single point of failure. And the parachain model is the best model that I have seen so far.
Thank you, Max. And you just mentioned no Ethereum. I think since the ETF things, everyone is just focused on Bitcoin, ETF. Seems like it's only the cryptocurrency. And talking about Ethereum, last time I have watched the movies in the HashKey, right? Which is the first day of the movie about the Ethereum. Well, I'm very impressed with different culture, different infrastructure and mindset. Now, Jupiter, you are the HashKey, well, at the part of HashKey, capitals, right? So, well, why don't you share some of your ideas, your viewpoints, some of the challenges and the risk around the Web3?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think Web3 is quite new. If we're counting from the birth of Bitcoin, it's been 15 years. But actually, if you calculate the years of Ethereum, it's only, I think, it's 10 years. I think the whole ecosystem of Web3 are building on top of Ethereum and also other kind of layer ones like Polkadot together. So that's we expand our ecosystem in the past few years. But actually, it's quite new. So when we invest into Web3, we've been facing a lot of challenges if you compare to the investment in the traditional finance world. For example, in early days, when you decide to invest into a Web3 project, there's not even a formal contract you can sign. You know, it's just some oral agreement make you to invest into some projects. It's in very early days, and the people, they can only give you the return when they honor this oral agreement. And then after sometimes we have the SAFT, the kind of very short term of contract can make sure can guarantee a little bit of the interest from the investors. And nowadays we have more diversified kind of investment forms and more and more legal and compliance forces and joining these spaces to help the people and navigating the investor to these risks. So I think if we talk about the investment a few years ago, not too many vendors, or like for example, you can't find the auditing, to audit the project, audit the fund, audit everything, invest into Web3. So nowadays, things has been growing and developing and more mature than before, but actually still facing some like operational risk. For example, you have to maintain your daily operation of your token wallet, because if you want to invest in token wallets, you need to make sure your wallet is safe. Sometimes you have to self-custody, sometimes using the third-party custody, but even the third-party custody, they are facing some issues. Some are regulated, some are not regulated, but they were all facing tech issues, will be hacked, something like that. So, and also the teams, they're quite dynamic. Some teams may rug pull or soft rug pull, they're causing a lot of troubles. And also because the investment company, the fund, and the projects, most of the occasions are not in the same places, not in the same continentals. I think the control or the daily operation supervision is not quite closely related, and give a lot of authority to the project founders. They have a lot of rights to do something. So I think after years evolution in Hong Kong, US, the investment activity has been more mature, and we see the regulator has been entering the places and gave a lot of guidance on how that kind of activity should be conducted. I think when more regulated and established investors joining, especially with traditional investors joining, this kind of risk will be facing less and less. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jupiter. I totally agree because when I look into the market, not just the investors, I really focus on the risk as well as to mitigate the challenges. Now, the regulators as well as the professional firms like the CPA firms or the lawyers, they're trying to provide some kind of due diligence services like the ongoing quality assurance as a due diligence over some invested or some portfolio companies to make sure that everything's happen in a proper and compliance way, right? And talking about compliance proper way, from time to time, while we see regulators have a lot of new regulations coming out, which is good to the market. And now even the banks as well as some of the institutions to become key stakeholders, right? And they are very focusing on RWA too because the environment provide them, enable them to have a good products where they can place reliance on the, ecosystem to produce RWA products. So Sam, okay, share some of the examples to us regarding RWA, how this technology can apply to the ecosystems.
You mean the RWA?
Yes, so real world assets. Yeah.
Actually, I'm not prepared for this question. If you don't mind to pass to someone who knows this better. Sorry.
No worry.
Yeah. Maybe I can give some comment.
Richard, yeah.
Yes, because we have a few of RWA projects actually in USA. Yeah. So in general, we believe the RWA is going to have another market available for Web3. And of course, it's something real there, right? You got the real assets. No matter it's able to make the good return or not, but it's real assets. And no matter it's $1 or $100, it's something real there. It's not like very difficult for some kind of D apps. They just issue a token, and if nobody use that, or say only 10 users use that, you won't see the value, right? But the real world assets is different. And then we will see a lot of different real world assets in the world now. I can give you some example. In our portfolio, we have one RWA deal. They're trying to facilitate the real estate liquidation, real estate, the sale, and also the fragmentation, and to have a stake, to have a different stake owner, right? So, well, it's not that popular yet. But going forward, I think there will be more and more users or more and more participants like to use that kind of platform. So that's one of the case. The other case is that we know the RWA. Okay, they put something in between in combination. You maybe there's a lot of people play the game, right? In the game, you find a lot of digital assets. Okay, digital asset is not real world asset, but in another meaning, another definition is real world asset too, because those gaming companies is been there for 20 years. And they do have a lot of users, and they can be traded. So they have a real value. Not necessarily real world, but they have a real value. Okay, that's gaming. So people see, okay, those games, you have the assets, how you are able to do the tokenization, for example, and try to bring more business model, or say other business opportunity, right? So, well, I think going forward, again, the Hong Kong government also support the real world, and also not just this area, I would say, right? So, even China, because they don't like the tokenization, but they have other legal financial instruments trying to securitize the real world asset. Not necessarily say tokenize. It's maybe not a good word to say, right? But yeah, I think that's pretty promising sector.
Right, I agree. And
Albert, if I may add
sure,
one more
please
comment.
do. Please, I will not let you go easily.
Okay. If I may just add one short comment. We actually co-invested in RWA exchange together with HashKey, and we do see two innovation fronts, which is they are tokenizing a top tier I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce this. So I would say top tier financial institutions, money market fund, and tokenize the fund, and offering these assets interest to Web3 protocols, Web3 foundations, because they need real interest income from RWA. Number two is we see we also invested in this company called Arcring together with HashKey, which is tokenizing carbon assets, tokenizing the carbon neutral assets, and providing them to either institution or individuals for them to buy carbon assets more easily, because you cannot do it in Web 2 ways. If it's put on chain, everything is easier, but they would have a long way to go to make these things be acceptable to people. Yeah, and make this happen.
Shen, you see,
Yeah.
you're talking commodities, carbon credits,
Yeah.
as real assets. You're talking about financial instruments of real assets. You are the expertise, but you tell us you do not have an idea. Come on. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, one thing I need to mention, when you say hi to HashKey working with Jupiter on HashKey on the real assets, I think Anthony is looking at you. Anthony just got the license, Hong Kong Rex over here. So you may want to build further relationships. Try to build up the entire ecosystem altogether, all right? Is that right, Anthony? Okay, good. Now, since Max, sorry, Shen, you're still holding the mic, all right? Right before, at the very beginning, so we mentioned about how we manage the founders of the Web3 startups. Now, for some of the investors, we're trying to help some of these Web3 companies scale up in overseas. Share some of your experience to us, how you manage those startups, how them scale up in other regions. Shen, do you answer these questions again? No.
Yeah, can you? I'm sorry, I was thinking about the RW assets.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that. Institutions. Okay. Issuing the real world access. What will be the market price? All right. My question is now, being investors, we are also the incubator accelerators of certain startup, right? Yes. So how do you help to scale up those startups, like going overseas? How to help them to scale up the business?
We spend a lot of times in trying to find the right teams, and we do see we focus on Chinese entrepreneurs teams, and we think Web3 is the best tool for global business. We think Web3 offers standard. One investment theme we put a lot of efforts on is we call it Web3 business. We think we recently talked to Mr. Zheng, who was the chief strategist for Alibaba, and we tend to agree with his opinion that Web3 is now not at a Yahoo moment. Web3 is only at American Online. So, which is way back to 1990. I think Dr. Xiao recently mentioned Web3 is at 1995. We were thinking Web3 is probably at 1999 to 2002. So Dr. Xiao's opinion is kind of in the middle of Dr. Zheng and our original opinion. Now we think Web3 is, we do think, we kind of agree with Mr. Zheng's opinion. Web3 is at American Online stage. So we want to look for American Online in each industry, which means Web3 business. So who would really put users' data on chain, users' data assets on chain, which is exactly like what American Online did back in 1990, which helped people get online. So back to your question is, we think Web3 is the best tool for Chinese teams to go overseas. So
I
because
agree.
it's a standard.
Yeah, I see a lot of good talents in China, which works on the Web3. I totally agree. All right. Max, I see you keep waiting as too relaxed, stretching your legs like this. Okay, now here come the questions. Well, we're talking about investment. Which is the niche areas in Web3 that you think that will be trend, or the niche areas that you're investing, like the blockchain, AI, DeFi, even NFT. When I talk about NFT, it could be NFT technologies, right? Would you mind to share some of the view?
Sure, yeah, I can talk about 3 different verticals that I'm really excited about, I think. All of them have something to do with mass adoption, right? Because in my first answer to your first question, I was talking about the technology and how Polkadot, that we're very bullish on, enables like very large, diverse range of different applications. It's solid infrastructure, it works, it's resilient, it's scalable, it's secure. Now, the question that comes next is what do you do with that, right? What kind of applications do you want to run that people use and that leads to, mass adoption, right? Because that's ultimately what we're looking for when we're like investing in an ecosystem. So I can think of like 3 verticals, let's call them, that we're excited about, and I can give some examples for each of them. One is gaming, right? Gaming was always at the forefront of technology adoption. The other is DePIN, so this kind of ties in a little bit with the RWA question that we had earlier. And the third one is government services, and I'll tell you in a second more what I think about that. So let's start with the first one, gaming, right? We recently made an investment in Mythical Games, which is a very OG gaming studio. The founder, John Linden, is one of the core developers of Call of Duty. Many of you, I'm sure, remember playing this game, myself included. So they are as OG as it gets. It's a fun game. It's a game that engages people, right? And then these guys decided to develop on Web3. They moved over to Polkadot, bringing like millions of players and active users over. They're, for example, just launched like an official NFL game. So the way I'm thinking about Web3 gaming is like, back in the days, the first iteration of this play to earn thing, it was kind of an interesting proof of concept, but there's kind of no point to, pay people to play a game, right? That doesn't really make any sense to me. People play a game because it's fun, right? And if you can then build in Web3 elements into it that enhance the gaming experience and that lead to, for example, like a marketplace of in-game items, that's really good, right? That's a great enhancement. And that's obviously how you can get millions, like literally hundreds of millions of users into the ecosystem. So that's the first example, the first vertical I want to talk about. The second one I want to talk about is DePIN, right? So a lot of the things that happened in the crypto space so far are purely like in the virtual world, if you want. What I'm quite excited about is moving this into the real world, right? So there's a lot of data, for example, the data that a car produces when it drives around, or agricultural sensors, or traffic, or whatever it is. This data has a value, right? People are willing to pay for that. And as we are, putting this data on chain, it can get monetized. The owners of the data sources can get their fair cut of it. It's not just the companies who get rich from the users' data. In a way, you're democratizing the data usage. And again, Polkadot is a great platform to do exactly that. And the third and final vertical that I'll briefly touch upon is the idea of governmental services, right? Because again, if you're talking about mass adoption, right, obviously everyone has to interact with governments in one way or another. And there's a huge potential, in my opinion, to bring this interaction on chain. We recently invested in a company called Mandala Chain, based out of Indonesia. They've got some really good contracts with the Indonesian government to build out government services in healthcare, in the traffic department, to enable Indonesian citizens interact with this in a Web3 native way, own their own data, own their own, be sovereign over their own data, and Polkadot is a blockchain that can enable that. So all of these things in combination lead to mass adoption. That's kind of what we're excited about.
Yeah, thank you, Max. Okay, I see. Well, one of the organizers are putting up the card saying "Time's up." All right, but why not give me 2 more minutes to ask the last questions from our panels on the floor. Rich, as well as Jupiter, would you mind sharing your viewpoints, on your investments? How do you see? Is that your investment is just looking for high yield opportunities, or what? Or what is the niche areas that you're investing?
So recently, our team had released a report called "Why We Are Bullish on Altcoins," to depict our investment logic and rationale regarding the altcoin sectors. So, for the time's sake, I will share a little bit. Just the name of this: some alt layer 102s and some real-world asset infrastructures, and DeFi's, and among other sectors. So I'll be quite bullish on the whole Web3 development in these cycles. But I think currently, due to risk appetite and the market sentiment, we haven't seen the classic altcoin season coming. But I think with the future development of the BTC dominance rising, we will see the classic altcoin season be finally coming in the next year. So several sectors we should really pay attention to, and actually can make some bet. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Rich, would you mind to help me to do the closing, helping to give advice to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to enter the Web3 world?
Yeah, sure. But I want to add something. Now, actually, we for the niche market, actually we pay quite a lot of attention on the DID, not just the digital ID, but also decentralized, which is different, and you can create different business model for that. And in the past, we have some portfolio doing so already. And yes, and for the entrepreneur, because we have since from history, we have 250 plus portfolio. And I do encourage the entrepreneur to think about something to break something, which is in the industry already, break something and create something new. It's easy to say, but when you see a lot of portfolio, they simply just copycat, right? They are not able to really create something new or even invent something, invent some model or invent some new technology. So that's something I will advise the entrepreneur with a real technology or say real talent are able to think about that.
Thank you very much. We have a very strong panel over here, all their expertise. We can keep on talking about today non-stop. So please help me to give a big hands to my panel over here. Thank you.